Hello YouTubers! Joe Kersey here on Thursday, January 26th, 2017. At 17:47 in the evening Eastern Time. And what have I done? I've omitted one of the most essential ingredients. Now, last night was a long night because, as you noticed from my previous video, I had the good neighbors Liz and Henry over, or they came over to me, God bless them, with pizza and good conversation. And then today, I had to sort of fix my glasses. Now I've got two pair of glasses. I've got a pair of what I call my plastics. They were made by Pearl Vision. And then I have a pair of actual glass lenses that were made by lens crafters, because lens crafters will still make glass lenses. I have a fairly thick prescription. A lot of people won't make glass lenses for anything over like a -2, -2.5 diopter correction for nearsightedness. But lens crafters will, and they did in this case. And I had them put in to these. It's a World War II military surplus, German military surplus set of lenses. Now, these aren't the actual World War II era frames, but there are a number of outfits that will make reproductions of the frames. And this one's out of Nevada. It's called, not Dienst Optik, Deutsche Optik. Deutsche Optik out of, well, it's out of Nevada. It's well worth looking at because they've got a lot of neat stuff in it. Anyway, my glass lenses, the set of frames I had my glass lenses in had the weak link in the chain here are the shafts. Either right where it transitions from solid brass into the coiled brass, or right down here by the hinge. And in this case, the coiled part had broken off at the solid, where the solid, transition was. The previous frame it had sort of a bent nose piece. The reason I like these things so much is they don't have those padded nose pieces. I can wear these and not get any grease on the lens for days. With the padded nose pieces, you get grease coming up on the inside of your lenses all the time. It's really awful. Anyway, I have a sort of a spare backlog of some of these things. Now that's a bit of an expense to maintain that. But I like them because they're small. They're not heavy. Now the weight's never bothered me. I've worn thick, heavy lenses since I've been 5 years old, and it's never been a big deal. Every time I went to get glass lenses, they said, it's going to be too heavy. You're not going to like them. And I said, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. And it doesn't bother me. But it's kind of nice not, these are a little bit more convenient. Plus, they don't get grease on your lenses. So, since I have a number of spare pairs of these things, I thought I'd shift out the lenses from the old frames into a set of completely new frames, which I did. In the course of which, I can't show you how small these screws are, but I can tell you, these screws here, you got to screw the holes of the frames together, you got to screw the holes of the shaft in. So you got 4 screws in these things. These are tiny screws. Now, instead of putting out the big fuzzy towel, I put out a big paper towel that I thought would catch, if the screw bounded out of, it would let loose. No, I lost a screw. Now, you guys people who've watched me have a sense of how clean I sort of tidy up my rug and stuff. That screw's gone forever, unless it lodges in my bare foot some morning, which it well might. So, in any case, I have a backlog of these things, so I need to get a new lens prescription anyway, here next month or March. So I'm going to have to decide whether I want to stay with these kinds of frames or go back to, I don't want to go back to plastic frames, and I sure don't want to go back to these little slit-eyed New York lesbian frames, those little, I just don't, that's just not me, guys. That style seems to be fading away now, fortunately. Now if I can get rid of the fucking man buns, that'll be even better. Top nuts. Which isn't really today what I wanted to talk about at all. Now if they could just find a way to get dandruff to stop sticking to your glasses. I know they're going, well, they got to have some sort of miracle space station spray that'll keep those things, the dandruff comes down and gets near the lens and goes pew, pew, rather than sticking to the lens. It's already done it again. Foul beast. In any case, there's a fella in Canada who I've been watching probably since I got the computer, so from mid-December of 2012. I've been watching him for 4 years. His name's Michael Rizzi, and when I started watching him, he was just starting university, and now he's finished university, and now he's out, in the real world doing real world things. And I guess his real world thing is he wants to be, in PR and video production and this, like so many of these kind of quasi-professional YouTubers do want to be. And that's fine, that's great. But he did a piece today on jealousy. He's got a boyfriend. And, in fact, this would be the appropriate time right now to say that you might want to put some of the dogs and kids away on this one. I don't think it's going to get too graphic, but you never know. So I got thinking, well, am I a jealous person? I liked to think that I was not, and I like to think that I am not. However, read the following statements. That screen door that is lying shredded in the backyard just says how much I love you. That series of phone records that made me think you were off somewhere else just says how much I love you. The fact you tolerated me leaving one January night in 1994 just tells me how much you loved me. The fact that you tolerated me having a fling with a university gymnast in May 2014 just tells me how much you loved me. All four statements true. When Paul and I met in November of 1980, he moved in with me in February of 1981. He had a number of friends, and at that time we were still very actively going out to the bars and this and that and stuff. And, you know, and Paul had a fairly extensive back life, or at least that's what he told me. And I wanted him to keep his past friends. In fact, that always puzzled me that he sort of let them, they drifted away over time. But anyway, that maybe it might have been me more than him. But one day, we were living in an apartment on Lakeview Avenue in Columbus before we moved out here. And it had one of these little narrow backyards that went back to the alley. And it had a screen door, old-fashioned wooden screen door. And there was some sort of discussion involving some other guy. There's always another guy in there. And I just went off. I not on him. No. Never ever laid a hand on him. But I kicked that fucking screen door out into the backyard. And then went out there and finished it off. Oh, I was mad. So that tells you about the first statement. And then probably about, oh gosh, he was still working for corporate housing at this time. Well, of course, he had worked for corporate housing for 23 years, so that doesn't narrow it down. But I kept getting a strange series of phone calls from clearly a teenage guy during early afternoon. Asking for is so-and-so there. Well, he didn't ask for Paul, but he used a series of different names. Is so-and-so there? Is so-and-so there? I said, no. You must have the wrong number. And I had the caller ID. And at that time, that was before a lot of the cell phones were out, you know, and I sort of knew where that area code was, you know, that exchange number was, you know. And then occasionally I could get him to talk, and I got a sense of where he was. And I said, well, let me, you know, give me your address, and I'll, you know, have him, you know. I actually got the guy to give me his address once. And yeah, it was down just south of here. And yeah, I drove past the place and looked at it. That was before Google Earth. Or it's before I had Google Earth, let's put it that way. Yeah. So of course, I confronted Paul when he got home one night about that. That wasn't a pleasant evening. He wasn't doing it. Turns out it was just a massively wrong number. A massively wrong number. And so what happened is that Paul ended up calling the guy's dad on the same phone number and ratting the guy out to his dad. This thing in 1994, that was when, let's say there had been a prolonged dry spell, let's put it that way. Well, I was putting out ads in the Advocate and stuff. And there was a guy down here in North Clintonville, just a few miles south of us. And I won't tell you his name. I remember his name. I actually have his business card still. But I went down there and he was a nice guy. And We did a little fooling around. He worked as an independent cake decorator for Kroger's. But what really stuck with me was that he was very involved in his Methodist church down there on North Broadway in Clintonville, Columbus, Ohio. And he talked to me about how much that had really changed his life. It was a year after that I started going to St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Delaware. And that's changed my life. So Jeff Bell, you've changed my life. Little did you know it, but you did. In the interim, though, I woke up early in the morning, as I always do and did do then, and I wanted to, this was like 4 below zero weather at that time. This was in, mid-January, 1994. And he had one of these situations where, these deadbolt keys, but instead of leaving the key in the lock, he would lock it and then take the key with him. I couldn't get out of the damn house. I was locked in. I was frantic. I considered breaking the window and climbing out to the window, but I didn't. I waited until he got up and said our goodbyes. But he set me on a better path. Thank you, Jeff Bell. And then here's my last little happy fling there with the OSU, the university gymnast. Which I really enjoyed. I wish I hadn't messed up in terms of appearing too needy. But anyway, he handled that very well. Paul handled that very well. Yeah, 2014 was a pretty good year for me. I can't speak to the jealousy issue on his part on the last two, but I can speak to the jealousy issue on my part on the first two. So there we are. So bye-bye, YouTubers.